Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today to discuss the emergency broadband benefit. I'm Matthew Duchesne, and I'm the Chief of the Federal Communication Commission's Office of Native Affairs and Policy. In addition to myself, ONAP, as we call it, includes Sari Rajapaksa, who's the Deputy Chief and is with us today. We also have Janet Sievert, Lloyd Collier, and Derek Goetson, who are all legal advisors, and Carolyn Conyers, who's our program advisor. We're overseen and work very closely with Barbara I'm getting it wrong already, Esbin, who is the Deputy Chief in the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, and I believe she's signed in today as well. Today's event will have three parts. First, Eric Wu from the Commission's Wireline Competition Bureau will provide an overview of the emergency broadband benefit, including the enhanced benefit available to eligible households on tribal lands. Once Eric finishes his presentation, we'll take both questions about the benefit and feedback based on experiences with it so far. Enrollment for the benefit opened on May 12th, and as of June 20th, which I believe was Sunday, there were nearly 2.8 million households enrolled, of which approximately 72,000 were tribal households. Once we finish with the question and comment portion of the event, Ed Bartholomy from the Commission's Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau will review the emergency broadband benefit outreach toolkit the Commission created to support efforts to ensure eligible communities and households are aware of the benefit and how to enroll. If there's time, Ed will also take questions and comments on the toolkit. As far as logistics go, those of you participating in the event on the WebEx platform will be able to ask questions and provide comments directly, either orally or in writing through the chat function. If you'd like to offer oral comments, please use the raise hand function in WebEx, and we'll call on you to pose your question or comment. Those of you watching the event through live streaming at www.fcc.gov/live will have to submit your questions and comments via email to livequestions@fcc.gov. We're tracking those and we will run through those during the question and answer portion. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric to get us started, and I'm sure it'll take a second for him to get his screen up. So Eric, over to you. Eric, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Thank you again, Matthew. Can you hear me now? All right, great. Thank you. I would also like to thank today's attendees for joining us for today's tribal listening session on the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. As Matthew noted, my name is Eric Wu, and I'm an attorney advisor in the Telecommunications Access Poly Division in the Wireline Competition Bureau at the Federal Communications Commission. I will be providing an overview of the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program that Congress established in the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. It is a $3.2 billion temporary program designed to assist households struggling to pay for internet service during the pandemic. Today, we will explain what the benefit is, who is eligible, and how households can apply, and take questions. As we have all learned in recent months, and as our acting chairwoman has emphasized, broadband is no longer nice to have, it's need to have. It allows students to connect to classrooms, individuals to work remotely, and it connects us to family, friends, telehealth services, and other critical resources. The FCC remains committed to ensuring that everyone in this country has access to broadband services, including our most vulnerable populations. On December 27th, 2020, the Consolidated Appropriations Act became law. The Act, among other changes and actions intended to provide relief during the COVID-19 pandemic, established the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program to support broadband service and equipment for low-income households. The Emergency Broadband Benefit Program will connect eligible families and households to jobs, critical healthcare services, virtual classrooms, and so much more. The program builds on the regulatory framework for the Lifeline program and leverages systems like the Lifeline National Eligibility Verifier, National Lifeline Accountability Database, and the Lifeline Claim System. The benefit program provides eligible households with up to $50 a month discount for broadband services, including associated equipment rentals such as a modem, an enhanced benefit of up to $75 a month discount for households on tribal lands, and a one-time discount of up to $100 for a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet purchased through a participating provider if the household contributes more than $10 and less than $50 towards the purchase. The connected device must be provided by the same provider that the eligible household is receiving discounted broadband service from as part of the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. It is not a coupon or rebate that can be used at a third-party retail store to buy a device. The Emergency Broadband Benefit is limited to one monthly service discount and one connected device discount per eligible household. The benefit is not a direct-to-consumer benefit. It is a discount off the monthly service bill and/or device. The service provider seeks reimbursement directly from the program. For the enhanced benefit for households on tribal lands, the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program uses the same definition of qualifying tribal lands and maps as the Lifeline program. These tribal lands include any federally recognized Indian tribe's reservation, pueblo, or colony, former reservations in Oklahoma, Alaska Native regions established pursuant to the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, Indian allotments, Hawaiian homelands, and any land approved as tribal for the purposes of the Lifeline program or the EBB program by the FCC's Office of Native Affairs and Policy and the Wireline Competition Bureau. One thing to note is that if a household hasn't been assigned a street address when applying, you may use a descriptive address when completing the application. And you can learn more about the tribal lands eligible for the enhanced benefit at getemergencybroadband.org. There are 5 eligibility categories for the benefit. I will go over the first 4 on this slide and then cover the 5th on the next slide. A household is eligible if a member of the household meets one of the criteria below. If a member of the household received a Pell Grant in the current award year, if they were approved to receive benefits under the free and reduced price school lunch program or school breakfast program, including through the USDA community eligibility provision in the 2019 to 2020 or 2020 to 2021 school year, if they experienced a substantial loss of income due to a job loss or furlough since February 29, 2020, and the household had a total income of 2020 at or below $99,000 for single filers or $198,000 for joint filers, or they meet the eligibility criteria for a participating provider's existing low-income or COVID-19 program. Please keep in mind that a member of the household must meet only one of the eligibility criteria and not all for the household to be eligible. The 5th Emergency Broadband Benefit Program eligibility category is that a member of the household qualifies or is currently receiving benefits in the Lifeline program. Some of you may be familiar with the Lifeline program. Lifeline is a federal program that lowers the monthly cost of phone and internet services. Eligible customers will get up to $9.25 or up to $34.25 on tribal lands toward their bill for Lifeline. and how to qualify for Lifeline. There's many different ways to qualify for Lifeline. One is if the household income is at or less than 135% of the federal poverty guidelines, and that's based on the household size. Or if a member of the household participates in one of these programs: the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, Medicaid, Supplemental Security Income, Federal Public Housing Assistance, and Veterans Pension and Survivors Benefit. In addition, a member of the household may participate in one of these tribal programs: Bureau of Indian Affairs General Assistance, Tribal Head Start, which is based on income only, Tribal Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or Tribal TANF, or the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations Assistance. Current Lifeline participants are automatically eligible for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, and they do not need to apply separately for the program unless they choose a provider who has an approved alternative verification process and needs to validate their eligibility for that program. In addition, current Lifeline participants that are on tribal lands are automatically eligible for the enhanced tribal benefit. Current Lifeline participants will need to select a provider and eligible EBB plan in order to receive the benefit. They cannot be automatically enrolled in the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program by their current Lifeline service provider, and they will need to provide affirmative consent before they can be enrolled. Persons can receive both the Lifeline and the Emergency Broadband Benefit at the same time. They can be applied to the same qualifying service or separately to a Lifeline service and an Emergency Broadband Benefit service with the same or different providers. For example, an eligible household could have a Lifeline supported mobile phone service and a separate home broadband service that is supported through the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. So during these slides, I have discussed using the word household a lot in describing eligibility. And a household, for the purposes of this program, is a group of people who live together and share money, even if they are not related to each other. If you live together and share money, you are one household. If you either don't live together or you don't share money, then you are two or more households. A household can qualify because of an eligible dependent or child that meets the eligibility criteria. You may have to answer questions about your household when you apply for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. A household worksheet will be available to assist in determining household eligibility. Eligible households within multi-unit dwellings such as apartment buildings, nursing homes, and group homes can also take advantage of the benefit. Households within multi-unit dwellings where the landlord or the property manager is the internet account holder may be able to apply the benefit to that broadband service if they otherwise qualify and the broadband service provider is a participating provider. Residents should talk to their landlord or property manager about the program and encourage them to contact their service provider to learn more. The portion of the household that was paying to the landlord or property manager for service may be eligible for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program if the service is provided by a participating provider. In situations where the support is passed through as a discount off of the monthly price paid by the eligible household must provide consent to the bulk purchaser or purchasing provider to apply the EBB program benefit to that service, and the participating provider must retain documentation of that consent. If the household has a bill or other liability for their broadband access that someone else, such as the property owner, is helping to pay, the household could switch temporarily to using the Emergency Broadband Benefit support to pay for broadband service instead of relying on that third-party support. So the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program officially launched on May 12th this year. The program is a temporary program developed in response to the COVID pandemic. The program will end once the program funds are exhausted or 6 months after the Department of Health and Human Services declares an end to the pandemic, whichever comes first. The program is administered by the Universal Service Administrative Company, or USAC. They also administer the Lifeline program. USAC hosts the application portal and the getemergencybroadband.org consumer website. On the website, you can look at stats on the program, as well as forecasts for when the program will end. Currently, there are over 2.7 million households enrolled in the EBB program, and over 70,000 of those households reside on tribal lands. To avoid bill shock when the temporary program ends, the FCC has included some important consumer protections. Participating providers must give consumers notice about the last date or billing cycle that the full benefit will apply to their bill, and the date or billing cycle that a partial benefit will apply to their bill, in addition to information about the cost of the broadband service after the program ends. Households will need to opt in or request to continue broadband services with their provider. If they do not opt in to continue receiving broadband service with the provider, or select a new service plan with the provider, their broadband service will end once the program ends. Even if they had service with the same provider before enrolling in the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, households will still need to opt in to continue broadband services after the program ends. Eligible households cannot be excluded from the program based on prior debt with a participating provider. And consumers can change their benefit to a different participating service provider at any time. They are not locked into the first company that they enroll with. But one thing to note is that the device discount that is used for laptops, desktop computers, or tablets can only be used once per eligible household, even if the household changes providers. The program is open to all broadband providers that meet program requirements, not just those currently offering Lifeline services. Both fixed and mobile broadband providers have elected to participate in the program. Fixed broadband services are provided to the home or a single location. These include cable, fiber optic, DSL, satellite, and fixed wireless services. Mobile broadband services are device-based and available throughout the service provider's cellular coverage area, similar to cell phone services. Check with the broadband providers in your area to learn about their plans for program participation and eligible service offerings. You can find a list of participating providers by state and territory at fcc.gov/broadband benefit. Not all participating providers are offering connected devices through the program, and you can look at the providers that are offering devices at that website as well. Additionally, consumers will be able to use USAC's Companies Near Me tool on getemergencybroadband.org to look up providers offering program-supported services by their zip code. There are 3 ways to apply for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. The first is to contact a participating broadband provider directly to learn about their application process. You can also apply online at getemergencybroadband.org. And then a third option is to send in a mail-in application along with proof of eligibility to Emergency Broadband Support Center, P.O. Box 7081, London, Kentucky, 40742. For the first option, you can contact a service provider. Again, you can find a list of participating service providers by state at fcc.gov/broadband benefit, and also at the Companies Near Me tool at getemergencybroadband.org. The service provider will assist the consumer in person with applying through the National Verifier Service Provider portal. The consumer needs to be in store or some other location with the employee of the provider that is helping them to enroll through getemergencybroadband.org online portal or using the mail-in application. They won't be able to take your information over the phone. Many service providers will be asking consumers to complete the USAC-hosted online or mail-in application process, but some have also received approval from the FCC to use their own alternative verification process to enroll households. The service provider can help the consumer apply using their FCC-approved alternative verification process, and they may provide an option to complete this process on their website. You can also apply directly online by visiting getemergencybroadband.org. There, you will be able to submit your application online. As part of the identity verification, you may be able to use your tribal ID in lieu of a social security number for applying. You also may be able to use alternative forms of identification if neither of those are available. After receiving an eligibility determination from the National Verifier, the consumer can contact a service provider to enroll in the program. And lastly, you may be able to apply by mail by downloading the paper application from getemergencybroadband.org. To speed up with the application processing, you should be sure to include any necessary supporting documentation when you submit your paper application. Next, we're going to talk about how you can qualify and showing how you can qualify. When you're applying for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program using USAC's online application, they will attempt to confirm your information automatically. Applying online has the benefit of having automated data sources, so you may not need to submit additional documentation. For example, if you qualify through Medicaid, there are connections to the Medicaid database, and you may be able to automatically qualify for the EBB program through that database. However, there may be situations where additional documentation is needed, and in those cases, you'll need to upload documents to complete the application. Similarly, mail-in applicants should submit their documentation with their application to speed the process up. And you can check getemergencybroadband.org for more information on acceptable documentation. Matt, I'm going to turn it back over to you for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. A reminder for folks, if you're participating through WebEx, you're welcome to raise your hand and let us know that you want to ask a question orally. You're also welcome to type the question into the chat function. And those of you participating via the live streaming, I don't want to give you the wrong address. Let me make sure I've got it correct. The live questions at fcc.gov. And we do have a question in the chat, Eric, and I should also note that if there are questions that any of us are unable to answer, we will try to get answers and follow up with folks after today's session. Eric, someone in the chat has asked a question touching on something that both you and I said. We both said that there were roughly 71 or 72,000 tribal households enrolled. But the question is it tribal households or is it households on tribal lands? For those of you on in the event who don't know, I don't think we mentioned this. As in the Lifeline program, you don't have to be a tribal member to qualify for the enhanced tribal benefit. You just have to be living on qualifying tribal lands. So Eric, do we know if the answer, I suspect the answer is that it's 71,000 households on reservation lands. Do you know if that's true or do we need to follow up?
I believe that is true. I think that is something we would want to follow up on, but I think that is referring to the households that are on tribal lands. And on the discount, it may be that they are receiving the full $75, but it is dependent on what service offering they do choose.
Okay. Oh, and I apologize if I'm a little clunky checking for hands raised and things. I think we have a couple of questions that have come in through the live questions at fcc.gov. Eric, do you have access to those or would you like me to read them?
Matt, if you could go ahead and read them, that'd be helpful.
Okay. So the first question is, are EBB eligible households limited to receiving either $100 towards the purchase of a tablet or laptop, or a temporary upgrade to their current Lifeline cellular plan, or $75 off their monthly landline internet bill?
Thank you, Matthew. So as discussed in the presentation, the benefit offers, I guess, one, up to $50 a month discount on your broadband service and associated equipment rentals, or up to $75 a month discount if your household is on qualifying tribal lands, as well as a one-time discount of up to $100 for a laptop, tablet, or desktop computer. And on that connected device, there must be a co-payment by the household of more than $10, but less than $50. A household can receive one connected device throughout the length of the program if it is offered by their participating provider. As long as they are charged more than $10 or less than $50 for the device. And the household can receive a monthly discount of up to $50 or up to $75 for those households on travel lands off their monthly internet bill. If the household has multiple broadband providers, for example, a Lifeline cell phone provider and a fixed broadband provider, this household will need to choose one of those services to apply the emergency broadband benefit to.
Thank you very much. We have another question in the chat. Can tribes access data on participation through their tribal lands? For example, how many of the households are signed up on their reservation? How many received connected devices?
Hi, that is something I am not sure about, so we would have to go back and look at that. I don't think that the tribes themselves can access that data, but we'll take that one back.
Okay, thank you. And another question through the live questions. After the emergency broadband benefit is over, will consumers be held to provider service contracts, such as to keep the internet service for 1 or 2 years?
So as part of the consumer protections from this bill, a household must opt in to continue to receive broadband service from their EBB provider after the conclusion of the program. So those households that were customers before the program must still opt in as well. So if a household signed a contract before the household's participation in the EBB program, and the household elects to continue to receive the broadband service after the program, the provider can enforce its service contracts after the end of the program.
Thank you. And I am not seeing any additional questions at this time or hands raised. So another chance for anybody who wants to jump in before we move on. I'll give you a second. And I don't see anything new. I'm going to move on.
Excuse me,
Yes,
there's another question in the chat.
There is. Okay, hold on. I'm not there. What if a person is living at home on qualifying tribal lands, an adult child of a tribal member, for example, and that child would qualify for the program, but the parent does not qualify for the program because they make too much money? Would the child of the tribal member qualify?
Thanks, Matthew, and thanks for that question. So in that situation, the child and the person must be part of the same household. So they must share income expenses and live together. And if that situation, if the child did qualify based on eligibility for the emergency broadband benefit program, then the entire household will be able to use the emergency broadband benefit program. So it does not matter if the adult has income higher than what they would need by themselves to qualify. As long as a member of that household does qualify, then the household can receive the benefit.
Okay. Thank you. And we've got another one in the chat. someone hears that small providers who are not eligible telecommunications carriers, especially small cable systems, are having difficulty getting qualified as a provider. Do you have any update on the process of getting new providers into the program?
Thanks. So I don't have an update on that. Providers have been able to apply to be part of the program, even those that are not ETCs, I think since March. The FCC has been working through those applications to get them approved. If there are any specific providers that are having difficulties, then I would, please reach out to the FCC and we can work through those specific problems. But I don't have any specific updates on that currently.
Thank you, Eric. Well, I think that is it now for the questions. So before we move on, let me just mention that Eric will be with us for the rest of the session. And if we have time for more questions at the end, if you think of some between now and then, you're welcome to ask them at that time. And with that, we're going to move on to Ed Bartholomy to give an overview of the outreach toolkit. So Ed, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Matthew. Bring up my screen share here. Sorry, give me a second. I think hopefully that's coming across correctly now. So thank you. And I want to thank folks for taking the time to join us today to learn more about this important program. As Matthew mentioned, I'm Ed Bartholomy. I'm the Associate Bureau Chief in the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. And I want to take a couple minutes this afternoon to introduce you to the Emergency Broadband Benefit Outreach Toolkit that the FCC has developed. Due to the unique circumstances of the pandemic, and our inability to sort of meet consumers where they are and get out on the road and help to spread awareness about this program right now, we knew early on that we would need trusted voices and outreach partners that know their local communities in order to help drive awareness about the program. It's a new program. It's also a temporary program. So there's a critical need for us to work with partners together to build awareness and to talk about the opportunity that the program can provide, but also the opportunities that being connected and having access to connectivity can provide to groups who are currently not connected. So today I'm going to go over what the toolkit contains. And we'll start by defining what the toolkit is. So the toolkit is a collection of social media materials, printables, and other tools that's designed to assist community partners, grassroots organizers, and others, navigators, in raising awareness around the emergency broadband benefit. The tools are for public use. They're downloadable, they're free to use, and they can be co-branded and or adjusted to your voice. The goal was to create easy to use materials that partners and others that serve their local communities can quickly grab and make use of. And they should help in making your ability to talk about the program and raise awareness about the program easy and accurate. You can copy and paste many of the items in the kit, like model tweets, press releases, newsletter inserts, and they're really great to just help with external messaging to communities you serve and the constituents you work with. And you can find the toolkit at fcc.gov/broadband benefit. And I'll also have the address up on a slide here shortly. So the materials, as I mentioned, fall into three buckets. There's social media content, printables, videos, PSAs, and in the following slides, we'll walk through what is specifically in each of those categories. So the first category that we talked about is social media support, and the outreach toolkit contains the following items. Again, they're free to use. We have logos that you can copy and paste into emails, internal flyers, and online posts. We've included both FCC logoed as well as designs that are not logoed, and some that include our emergency broadband benefit logo. You're welcome to add your logo to them. We also have branded social media images, which you see here, some examples of are on the slide, as well as sample social media posts that you can take and tweet or Facebook post. I think we have an Instagram version as well, and a newsletter insert that I mentioned. We also have a draft press release that you can use and customize to announce the program to your local community or with other groups that you're working with to sort of mention your support and spread awareness about the benefit. The next group of content in the toolkit is what we call printables. You don't have to print them to make good use of them, but they all can be printed out and passed around in physical form. They include a fact sheet, information flyers, a 9x5 informational card, a quarter-page handout, a colorful poster that you can see on the screen now, and we also have an infographic available in this group of items. And these items can serve to help your efforts to reach local and grassroots communities about the emergency broadband benefit, whether it's in print or you add them to electronic transmissions like emails as an attachment. There are various sizes available, and all the materials are designed to be printed in color or grayscale, and they can easily be printed on home or small office printers and copiers. And again, you can co-brand, add your logo, and customize the content to be in your voice to make it more useful to you and the communities you serve. A few of the materials are two-sided. Others are single-sided. You may consider using the back of single-sided materials to include localized information, such as a list of participating providers serving your area, including their contact information, or some FAQs that might be unique to the community that you're spreading these around or serving with these documents and handouts that are available. The final group of content in our outreach toolkit involves videos and public service announcements, or PSAs. We've produced an overview video in English. We also have a video in Spanish. There is an American Sign Language version of the video. And there is a video available that walks you through the online application process. In addition to those videos, we have a PowerPoint deck that walks through the program. It's very similar to the ones that Eric and I have been using today. And this makes it easy to do train the trainer style sessions where you can empower others to help spread the word about the program and to help get people enrolled. There is a version of the PSA that has been customized specifically for tribal audiences, and my understanding is that we're working with Native public media to have that available to member stations and to have that out there so that people can make use of that public service announcement that's specific to the tribal benefit portion of the program. So, as a diverse nation, we understand that accessibility matters and having things available in language is important. This slide provides a list of some of the languages that we've made the fact sheet, the 9x5 info card, and the quarter-page handout available in. It also talks about our commitment to accessible formats. So if there are people who have need of materials in Braille, large print, or other formats, you can contact us. You can send an email request to fcc504@fcc.gov. And if there are other languages that you would be interested in having materials created in or working with the FCC to make sure materials are available in, I encourage you to reach out. We're always happy to partner with folks and make sure that the materials that we put out there are able to be translated and are available to groups to make use of in the languages that they need and in the way that they need. So I encourage you to take the materials we've created, use them as they are, customize them for your audience. Again, you can copy and paste items directly. You can add local providers and customize with contact information. The flyers, the fact sheets, they all work in grayscale, color, and are easily printable. If you'd like to have sort of go back and watch a longer version of the presentation we've done today with more detail, including a walkthrough of the online application process, you can watch a webinar video. We did the webinar back in April. The video of that event is available at fcc.gov/broadband benefit. It does include a lot of the same details that we covered today, but it also has some additional information and, as I mentioned, a walkthrough of the online application process. So I promised you some website links. Here is the link to the FCC's emergency broadband benefit page, and that's fcc.gov/broadband benefit. We also have the providers listed by state. So if you're interested in finding out which providers are serving the state that you're located in, you can go to fcc.gov/emergency-broadband-benefit-providers. And then the link for the toolkit is also now up on the screen, and that is www.fcc.gov/emergency. And that's not the right link. I apologize. This is the link to an FAQ. I will add the link to the toolkit to the chat. But if you do go to the fcc.gov/broadband benefit page, about halfway down, you'll see a section that's labeled toolkit, and you can find the direct link to the toolkit resources there. There is a toll-free number for support for the program, and that's 833-511-0311. And again, as Eric mentioned earlier, to apply directly using the online application, you can go to getemergencybroadband.org. All right, Matthew, back to you for questions.
Thank you very much, Ed. So again, questions, raise your hand or submit a question through the chat or through live questions at fcc.gov. And that can be for either Ed's portion of the presentation or for Eric's portion. And Eric, I think I have a question that came in through live questions. I think this is directed to you. It says, it's asking whether we're able to discuss what the procedure is after households apply and are accepted into the program. The person who submitted the question said, from what they understand, a customer who applies in June will be listed in the USAC snapshot of participants on July 1st. Then is there some sort of verification after that? Does the customer have to wait until August to get the discount?
Thanks, Matthew. So in that system, providers are able to seek reimbursement for customers that are enrolled in June and are on the July 1st snapshot. The providers will submit their claims to USAC for processing, and USAC will submit the disbursements for those claims. As for the timing of when the customer actually receives the discount, that is something that is more on the provider by provider basis, depending on how their billing works. However, the customer should only be charged for June to the extent the benefit does not cover the entire month of June. For example, if the service offering is $100 and the discount only covers $75, then the customer should only be charged $25 for that month of June. The way that the benefit works, though, is that the customer does not receive any money, but the benefit is a discount off of the bill. I hope that is responsive to the question.
Thank you. And it looks like we have a question for you, Ed, in the chat. Is the FCC tracking the conversations that are happening to understand how successful the communications plan and the outreach materials are for tribal nations?
I can start by answering, and then I might loop you and Matthew to speak a little bit specifically to some tribal interactions. But broadly, we are really engaged with a number of consumer groups. We've been getting a lot of feedback. We're open to understanding what's working and what's not working, how the materials are being utilized, if there are things that can be improved in the toolkit that we developed, or if there are other outreach strategies that might be helpful. So those are active, we're actively collecting that information. We're actively evaluating the effectiveness of what we've got out there, and constantly looking for ways to improve it. Matthew, I know that you and the team at USAC have also done some specific tribal engagement, and you've got people, folks reaching out to you to share feedback as well.
Yes, that's true. We have done a couple of presentations, particularly walking through how to enroll with USAC. We're paying attention to the number of households that are signing up, and we're sending things out electronically and tracking the responses. Within ONAP, we get questions from both tribal providers about looking for help in getting registered as an eligible provider in the program. And we also do get some questions from individuals who want help signing up. So we're working on all of those fronts going as we go forward. Do we have any other questions for Ed or for Eric?
Excuse me, Matthew. I raised my hand. I'm not sure if you saw it. Yes.
Belatedly.
There are questions coming in that are being sent to me privately. I'm assuming that they're for general consumption, and certainly for Ed or Eric. There's a question asking, when will the claims be paid by sam.gov? And for example, June claims submitted by the 15th, when will those claims be paid?
So that one, I am not as familiar with that process. So we'll have to get back on that one. But I think if they're submitted and by June 15th, my understanding is that it should be by the end of the month of June. But again, that's something we need to go back on. So.
Okay. And did you have another one as well, Siri?
We received a question about the availability of slide decks.
So I can jump in, Siri. We do have a version of a presentation deck that is available on the toolkit webpage. So again, if you go to fcc.gov/broadband benefit, you'll find a link to the page that has all of our toolkit content. There is a slide deck version that has a lot of what Eric and my deck had in it today. It's slightly shorter. If you have a need for some additional slides or other resources, please do reach out, and we're happy to work with you to make sure you get the content that you need.
Thank you, Ed. And do we have any other questions for Ed or for Eric? Okay, it looks like we do not. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. And I want to be sure to thank Eric and Ed for both presenting on their particular parts of this presentation today. Really appreciate you being able to do that with us. I don't have a slide or anything with our ONAP contact. Our general mailbox is native@fcc.gov. Our personal emails are our first name dot last name @fcc.gov. I hope anybody participating today feels free to reach out to us for any reason. Even if we can't answer your question, we'll help get you to the person that can. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, and we'll sign off. I appreciate it. Okay. Take care, everyone.